Hi everyone. Thank you for watching this video. This is actually the first official interview of a candidate that I'm doing, and her name is Marcia Squier, and she's out of Michigan. She's running. I'll let her tell you more about herself. Please, if you're watching this, feel free to follow my channel, the Inform Forum. It is now on YouTube, and we do have a Twitter handle at the Inform Forum. So if you feel like you want to be informed, please feel free to watch this video and follow us at that handle. And I'll put it in the YouTube description once this video is uploaded. And it will also be on my personal Facebook page and my Twitter handle, my personal Twitter handle as well, that I will, I guess, tweet to from the library, from the Inform Forum's channel. And hopefully the word will get out and you all will learn about this amazing candidate. Without further ado, why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
Okay, thanks for having me, Carly. I'm honored to be your first official candidate interview. That I know that we've known each other, through social media for a short while now. So, I do appreciate you having me on. So like you said, my name is Marcia Squier. I'm running for U.S. Senate here in Michigan, and I am 43 years old. I'm married with 4 kids. I currently teach exercise to mostly children, 18 different types of exercise. I'm kind of like a traveling gym teacher. So, that's a little bit about my personal background. I've actually politically also ran for U.S. House in 2016 as well, for Michigan's 14th district against Brenda Lawrence. So this time, though, I'm going up against Debbie Stabenow in the general election, as well as whoever the other party nominees are yet to be named. So as it stands right now, there is no Democrat running against Debbie in her own party. So it's looking like, she's the incumbent, and she'll be in the general as well.
And just for people who don't know, is Debbie Stabenow, I'm not saying her name correctly, Stabenow, is she, so in your introduction, you didn't exactly say if you're an independent, what exactly you're running for. What is Debbie Stabenow, and what are you trying to be?
Okay, yeah. So I am running as an independent, which is not a party. So I'm running without party affiliation, because a lot of people in America are just really sick of partisan politics. The duopoly is not really accomplishing anything to the benefit of the people. In 2016, I ran as a Green Party candidate because I decided to run basically the day after Bernie endorsed Hillary for the nomination. And also the Michigan superdelegates unanimously voted against him, even though he won Michigan. So right. I was just really flabbergasted, I guess you could say, at the way things turned out with that primary.
Mm-hmm.
And I was inspired by his message of we all need to run for office. It doesn't matter whether or not you support his platform. What matters is that we need to take a more direct role in our governing, in our governance, So I was initially inspired by Bernie in 2016 to run, but it was too late for me to get on the ballot any other way at that point in July. So I got nominated with the Green Party and ran with the Green Party for that race. This race, I have a little more time, obviously, to run. So I'm back to being an independent. I was never a registered Democrat. Michigan has open primaries.
Okay.
So, I just voted for the Democrats.
That's great that they have open primaries. My state of PA does not have open primaries.
No?
No.
Well, they're kind of open primaries. You don't even get to vote for all the candidates, like Attorney General and Secretary of State and stuff like that, those are still party nominations, like for the Democrats and the Republicans, and actually the Libertarians made it into the primary ballot this year. So with the way the Michigan open primaries works is you go on election day and you say, I would like such and such party ballot. And so you can't cross party lines during the primary like you can in the general. So you could actually ask for a Libertarian primary ballot this year for the first time ever, or a Democrat ballot or a Republican ballot. So that being said, you know, Debbie doesn't have anybody running against her in the Democratic Party. So it would actually make more sense, because there's only a couple of elections, a couple of races that you get to pick from, you know, because a lot of them are, you know, nominated by the party without a primary. It would make more sense to pick a ballot that has more than one choice, you know, as a candidate, because she's already, you know, got the nomination locked up in her party. You know, I just found that Michigan being a newly swung red state for the first time in decades, and it was a really close race for president back in 2016, that Michigan, I feel like, is really divided right now, you know, like right down the middle as far as liberals and conservatives. And the thing that I found was that many of my friends were on both sides. You know, a lot of the people I met online, or, you know, my friends and family in real life, or my supporters that voted for me back in 2016. So I decided to run as an independent this time, because that way I don't have to feel like I need to pick sides, and everyone can just support me based on my platform and not based on my, excuse me.
Are those your kids?
Yeah, my husband's calling.
Okay.
Can you just tell him I'll call him back later? Hold on 1 second.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Every time I do an interview, there's always a reason to interrupt mom. You know?
That's fine.
So, you know, it's bound to happen. I even specifically said, please don't interrupt. But, yeah, my husband was calling, so.
It's all good. I understand. I would probably be doing the same thing if my mom was calling me, or my dog was waking up or something.
Yeah, I face life challenges. I'm a real life person. I've got, you know, I got things going on here, and that's just how life is, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to my original point about I'm able to not pick sides, so supporters can support me not based on my affiliation, but based on my platform. And the same goes for me. Like, it works both ways, where I'm free to support the people of Michigan, not based on their affiliation, but based on the fact that they're people and not corporations. You know, I don't take any corporate money. I don't accept super PAC money or any foreign interests. You know, so they're really freeing up to do the same thing as, you know, the incumbent, which is follow the will of my donors. But my donors are all $100 or less. You know, my preferred donation is $27. So, you know, that gives me the ability to focus on the people and their needs, as opposed to the corporations, which, you know, aren't people. Unlike
they're not.
United ruling, you know, I don't believe that corporations are people. And so I really feel like this isn't Democrat versus Republican. This is corporations versus people. And I've got a lot of great feedback, and I'm getting a lot of supporters everywhere I go, because, you know, Americans are sick of this game that they're playing with us, and, you know, and they just always want to play the blame game and blame it on the other party. But really, they're all in bed with the corporations, and so they're
all in bed. I mean, I saw this great image. I don't know if I shared it anywhere, but it was an image of supposedly people. I mean, well, not supposedly, but people on a couch. You have, I guess, a woman and a man. Maybe some. Oh no, you have 3 people sitting on a couch, right? You had a woman, a man, and a man or something, or whatever, just 3 people. And one underneath, I think, the woman, there was Republican, and underneath the man, there was Democrat. And then I guess like the woman and the man in the middle, I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but the woman and the man in the middle, I guess, no, the woman and the man, the woman on the left side and the man on the right side were actually holding hands
behind the
wow.
behind the
Yeah,
couch.
you've seen it.
So
Okay, yeah. So
they think like, you know, they got your back, but really, you know, they're
they
doing
kind of don't. Yeah, and I mean, I actually think, at least personally, like for me, like the idea of running as an independent is really, really smart. I think you're right. I think people are really, really fed up with, I mean, myself included, and I'm saying this that I'm actually still registered as a Democrat, frankly, because I'm in a closed primary state, and I think at least the fight in my area is a little bit different. I don't know. I don't think there's, I don't know. I'm playing around with what to do, but 'cause I actually just found out that there's apparently a libertarian candidate running against Senator Casey. Um, but that's I don't know. I think his name is Dale Kern. But for now, I'm a Democrat. But I think you're right. People are really fed up with the duopoly, and it's just.
I lost you. I can't see you.
Oh, you lost me.
I'm not sure where you went. Hang on, maybe I can click back into the link. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you and see you.
You can see me. Oh, let me go back to your link. And here. and I want to say we definitely need to support our independent, the greatest, awesomest media and candidates as far as polish goes. We definitely have the people at heart, you know. So we're
Yeah,
not
and
being
I think that comes through. You know, if you have, I don't know enough about what people of Michigan kind of care about, but that's actually a question I want to ask you. But like, I think talking about policy positions and having strong policy positions and not giving in necessarily when some shit goes down with the Republicans or some shit goes down with the Democrats, and all Democrats are just caving on one thing because Republicans want one thing, or all Republicans are caving on one thing because Democrats want one thing, or they're not giving up or not giving in. What you need, I feel like what people need to do, like once they're elected, is just stand strong.
right.
And I feel like you will stand strong for the people of Michigan.
Yeah,
And
and there's no offense to third parties, and they definitely need to gain some ground. And I do support, you know, the Green Party platform. Um, the problem is they're set up in a way to hinder like third parties. So I think, you know, being no party is a little bit different than being third party, you know, because again, like when you're in a third party, you're forcing people to pick a side, you know, but when you're in no party, you're not forcing anybody to pick a side, you know,
right,
like we can all just focus on the issues, you
right,
know. So if you ever go on my Facebook page, you won't see me necessarily bashing the Republicans or the Democrats all day long, or Trump or Hillary or Bernie or any of them. I
right,
try to focus more on what's happening in our lives, you know, and how we can make it better, you know, and
right.
I try to keep my posts as uplifting as possible and positive, you know, because nobody wants a doom and gloom all the time, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've joined forces with other independent candidates as well as Democrat candidates, Green Party candidates, Libertarian candidates, and Republican candidates too. So, you know, we've kind of formed an alliance across the country right now. You know, I'm not the only one that feels this way, that was inspired by 2016 to run for office,
Oh,
you
you're
know.
not at all. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
I
I
even won for judge of elections in my precinct.
we need an army of candidates. We can't fight our own army,
No.
but we can fight our own legislators by voting them all out. And I know that our elections aren't necessarily 100% accurate, or that, there's a chance that they could be manipulated for a fraudulent outcome. But I don't believe that they can possibly fix every single race all over the country. And if they do, they're going to use up all their resources, doing that. And, the Democrat Party is already on the verge of bankruptcy, so they really don't even have the funds to be able,
they don't.
Do the media blitz and, the smear campaigns and stuff like that. They could still do media blackouts, and they still, have their operatives working the polls. But I just don't see it happening on such a grand scale. They might have their select races that they're focusing on. So that's why I love that there's so many of us out there that are like, you know what, I'm just going to run too. Because even if we don't win, it sends a big message to those current legislators we have that we're not going to take this anymore. We're not taking it and lying down. We're coming to take our country back, and we need to be of, by, and for the people again, and not the corporations.
I just want to high five you, like, through the computer screen. Just like,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, exactly what you said, because and that's why, like, I actually really like that you're running as an independent, simply because excuse me, I'm just gonna get some water. That's why I really like that you're running as an independent, because what I like, obviously we came into contact with each other when everyone was just rapidly friending every Bernie bro or Sandinista or just every Bernie supporter ever. And we came into contact, and I found out about you and whatnot. And where's my line of thought? It's kind of trailing. Hold on. I love that you're running as an independent, because to me it's almost futile on some level to run as any party, simply because, in my opinion, until money's really out of politics, we can't have any real change. And it's why I also love that you're not taking big money, because regardless of how you feel on any issue personally, which I don't think really should impact how people vote, which it does in some cases. What I like is, even if you I don't know your personal stances or how you feel about certain things, but if you had a feeling on, I don't know, rainbows, and you wanted to ban all rainbows, right? But your constituents were like, you know what, we like rainbows, we want to keep rainbows. You're not beholden to anyone to ban rainbows. And that's just a hypothetical example. Obviously not real world at all. But what that shows is that you're going to listen to them. You're going to listen to your constituents, and that matters.
Right. And my platform is based on, what I've learned over the past year and a half, 2 years, from what I've been listening to the people, and what their needs and what their wants are, and I actually respond to questions and interact with people online, which, I get a lot of compliments for that from total strangers. They'll share my post. A friend of a friend of a friend shares a post of mine, and I'll go like it and I'll thank you. And they just can't believe that I would even respond or anything to, something that they did. And they really like that. And it's because I'm one of us, you know what I mean? We all got to stick together, and it doesn't really matter what color your skin is or, what letters after your name. It's all about us. It's not about Bernie, and it's not about me either. It's about us.
It's not. And I mean, Bernie even said that, not me, us. And it is it is us. We are the future, and we need to start stepping up and doing things for it as much as we can, or as little as we can.
Yeah, I actually would have ran against Debbie Stabenow back in 2016, but she wasn't up for re-election yet, so that's why I decided to run for U.S. House instead.
Hmm.
She co-authored the Dark Act, and I don't know if your listeners know what the Dark Act is, but essentially it's a GMO labeling law that
Okay.
she co-authored in 2016, and Barack Obama signed it into law shortly after the Democratic convention in August. He signed it,
Huh.
and it basically was it written in response to a Vermont state law, which is where Bernie's from,
Right.
uh, requiring clear, concise GMO labels, whether or not the food you're consuming is genetically modified or not. So her bill makes it extremely inconvenient to figure those things out, where
Hmm.
you've got QR codes or 1-800 numbers in kiosks inside the stores where you have to scan the QR code to find out if your food has GMO in it or not, when they could just put it in the exact same amount of space on the packaging that they do the QR code and the 1-800 number. They don't want you to know up
Hmm.
front, and
Right.
the Dark Act, it stands for denying Americans the right to know, because saying I'm
Wow.
necessarily against genetically modified food, but my problem is with companies like Monsanto that like literally own almost all the seeds, and they use Roundup, which is a proven carcinogenic, to
Wow.
for insecticide on their food products, and that gets left on the food as residue, and their food is um, genetically modified to be more resistant to insects and things like that. But like honestly, we kind of need insects. I know they're gross and people want to smush them, but we need them. They're part of our ecosystem,
Right.
and we can't kill off all the bees and think everything's going to be fine. You know,
Mhm.
uh, I think that we need to at least become more educated on the subject.
Hmm.
And I think that, clear, concise GMO labeling is the right way to go. So Debbie co-authored that. And then, so that was my first, besides the fact that she voted against Bernie, that was like my first red flag. Like, whoa, she's my senator. Bernie won this state,
Hmm.
and she's refusing to vote for in line with her constituents. So then I
Right.
find out about the Dark Act, and then I started paying more attention to her because our mainstream media does a great job of having us look the other way.
Right.
So I quit watching television and I started doing my own research. And
Hmm.
I found out she voted once Trump was elected. She voted for half of his nominees,
Right.
Mad Dog Mattis, and including Rick Perry for Secretary of Energy, I believe it is, and like half of them. She voted for half of them, and then she voted back in 2001 for the authorized use of military force after 9/11, and Barbara Lee was the only one that voted against that, but she voted for it. And
Hmm.
then last year, Rand Paul brought it up to end AUMF, authorized use of military force. She voted against ending it.
Right.
She
So I'm
voted
assuming like every vote that more or less she voted on, you would probably have done the opposite.
right, and so it's like, this is not the person I voted for. I voted for her. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I voted for Democrats because the Republicans
Right.
were so scary. But
Right.
then she voted for the FISA warrants. She voted for the $698 billion of military. Okay, so if Trump is such a Hitler, why did you give him authorized use of military force and all that money for the military? Like, I don't get it. Like, well, it's
Hmm.
because she's a warmonger that takes money from the military industrial complex. And therefore, her hands are tied when it comes to her vote. She's not free to support the will of of her constituents. She has to support the will of her donors.
Hmm.
And it's nothing against her, but it's like, it's time for her to go because obviously she's too entrenched in the swamp, and
Hmm.
she can't get out. So we got to get her out because she's clearly not voting in line with what we want. Like legalized cannabis or hemp.
Hmm.
She's not an advocate for Medicare for all either. She
Right.
just wants to save Obamacare. But she was fine with Bernie coming here to Michigan to try to stop the repeal of Obamacare, which,
Right. Of course.
I'm actually glad that they got rid of the mandate, because who
Hmm.
wants to pay a fine for not being able to afford insurance? You know,
Right.
it doesn't make a lot of sense. I myself am for universal health care. I want everybody to have insurance. Like right now, my kids have Medicaid and they have full coverage. I think and we have Medicare for older folks. And so I really think that, we're in a way discriminating against the rest of the population by not offering it to that, 18 to 65 or range of people. I think that if we had universal health care and we had education for all, and we legalized cannabis, then, pharmaceutical costs would go down, the unemployment would go down because people could claim it as legal income. People could actually go to a doctor. If they did need a prescription, they could grow cannabis themselves. Or, if they had prescription coverage, they'd be able to get the prescriptions that they need. You've got seniors that are cutting their medications in half because they just can't afford the cost. And that's even like with Medicare. So it just, but then on the other side, we got, people like Debbie voting for $698 billion for war. That's $22,000 a second. And that's more than he even asked for. And it's more than, he asked for more than ever. And then they gave him even more than that. So this is like currently the largest military budget in the history of the world ever.
Ridiculous.
And she voted for that. And like, we've been at war for like 16 years, like,
Yeah.
When's it going to end? Well, it's not, because we've become war for profit as a business model, and we're all focused on death and destruction, but we should be focused on health and well-being, of ourselves. And we should stop arming the entire world with our weaponry. That's our number one export, is weaponry. That breaks my heart. We should be helping these impoverished countries become more self-sustaining, and we don't need upwards of like around 1,000 military bases all over the world. There's no need for that. Like,
really
we already have nuclear weapons. Like, who's going to attack us? Why do we have to be the world's police? And I know Trump ran on a non-interventionist platform, but then he entered the swamp, and so now even he has become beholden to that, and you got Israel and AIPAC and all those other things that are playing into the hands of our current legislators. So we don't just need me to get elected. We need all those other candidates, those hundreds and thousands of other candidates I was talking about. We need to support all of us, because just like Bernie could not go up against the Democratic Party on his own and win that nomination, I wouldn't be able to do it by myself either. I'd be up against 99 other senators, or maybe 98, if Bernie runs again and gets reelected, but we need a majority, there's only 33 seats up. Only 25 of them are Democrats. Only 8 of them are Republican seats that are up for reelection. And then in 2020, we've got, it's like a 6-year cycle. So every 2 years, a third is up for reelection in the Senate. And every 2 years, the entire House of Representatives is up for reelection. So the way I'm looking at it, by 2020 and 2022, we really could have a majority of, populist candidates as opposed to corporatists in the House and in the Senate and all over the states and the state legislatures and the governors and city council, county executives, everybody. We could really make some progress. I'm really tired of the vote blue no matter who people telling me that there's no time, we have no time to reform, we just have to vote for the lesser evil. Well, there's never been a better time than now. It really hasn't. Bernie's and Trump's campaigns really sparked something on both sides of the spectrum for the disestablishmentarianism,
or even the spectrums to the spectrum, because at least speaking from my understanding, there's far left, kind of where I sit, there's far right, there's center left, if you can call it that, there's just plain old I don't know center, and then there's like left right. I don't know, but it's just, I think you're right. The way that like Trump and Bernie ran their campaigns, it sparked something among everyone. Like, and I'm really happy that people are quote unquote woke and like waking up and trying to like understand and do something. And no matter what it is, just do something.
Right. Even like you interview people, you know what I mean? Or when you go and do your live streams where you talk about stuff that are like, if you go to a indivisible meeting forum and then you want to let us know what happened, or you want to live stream it or whatever, you know, we appreciate all of that help that we can get. If you're good at making memes, make some memes, you know, if you're not camera shy, then do some interviews. Everybody that has Facebook on their phone has the option of going live, you know, so anybody can do it. You can invite people in, and, you know, we need more of that. We need to create a new fourth estate. You know, we need to kiss the mainstream media goodbye. You know, companies like Time Warner donated $1 million to Hillary's campaign. You know, people like Chuck Todd hosted birthday parties for the Clinton campaign at his house, you know, and that's just disgusting to me.
It is so gross.
I used to like Meet the Press. I used to watch NBC, you know, and then when, you know, they had Bernie's empty podium or Trump's empty podium versus Bernie's filled stadiums, that was like, what the heck? You know, like that's when I started going online, going on YouTube, searching Bernie, and then clicking on today or this week, you know, so you can get all the latest stuff that's going on based on the topic that you search, you know.
Yeah.
I found a lot of great channels, and I'm still following those people to this day, you know, because I appreciate their voice. And, you know, anybody can have a YouTube channel. You know, I know that like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter all do like their little bit of censoring or, you know, suppression, but the more of us there are, the less they can suppress us. Just like, you know, Bernie is like by himself there, you know, and then like Tulsi Gabbard's like by herself in the house, you know what I mean? So they need more people. Every way, in every level, and in every way, you know, we really got to do this, because, you know, I'm tired of it. You know, I'm tired of our prison population being #1 in the world. You know, that's horrible.
It's I'm tired, I would have to say, of that, and basically being last in just about everything.
Right.
Like you said, with like spending for the military budget, if we cut that by so much, we could have pretty things like ponies in this country.
Yeah, we could cut our spending in half and still be spending more than any other country on earth. That was one of the few things I liked about the Clinton administration of the 90s, is that his military budget was half of what we have today. We need to get back to that. We don't need, when you have an overbloated military budget, everything else suffers. Not only the people that we're bombing and murdering overseas, but we're suffering as well, because we're not getting the care and attention that we need. You know?
And meanwhile, we have veterans on the street. I mean, I can't tell you. I work right now at UPenn, and I've lived in Philadelphia. I've rode my bike. I've skateboarded around in my area, and I've been around Rittenhouse Square by the Philadelphia Art Museum, and I've seen. I've had kind bars on me, because apparently I always have a kind bar on me. But like, I've given these veterans a kind bar, or just anything, and it's just a shame that our government doesn't care.
They just want to make more of them, more homeless.
Just want to make more of them. It's a business to them. It's all a business, and
Raytheon and General Electric, all of those, you know. Really sad.
It's very sad. I guess so. To get back, I want to ask you, like, how. So you're running against Debbie Sabino. How do you differ from her in policy specifically?
So we did kind of touch on that a little bit. You know, like, I obviously wouldn't have authorized the FISA warrants to be continued, or the authorized use of military force. I would not have voted for that budget. I would be advocating for cannabis and hemp.
Right. So we actually did touch on this. I don't know why my brain is like.
For all, you know, just to kind of sum it up, because we were kind of all over the place. So it's nice to have it all in one place, you know. And so I definitely support the people. You know what I mean? I'm not supporting the corporations. The corporations, and that's not the same thing as a small business. You know,
Yeah.
I think that like as far as livable wages go,
Hmm.
that we could offer small businesses and tax incentives or tax breaks to be able to compensate for giving their employees a livable wage based on the region that they're in. And because we've got companies like Walmart employees are one of the biggest burdens on our government assistance programs. But like the Waltons are all billionaires. You know,
Right.
clearly companies like Walmart and Verizon uh,
Hmm.
and companies like that can afford to give their employees a livable wage. Um, so obviously, I'd want to force those companies to pay their fair share of taxes in order to compensate for the fact that their employees are not receiving a livable wage. And you know, so if we at least force them to subsidize their own employees government assistance, you know, because either way we got to pay for it. We're paying, it's our dime either way, you know.
Right.
So we got to close those loopholes that enable companies like Verizon to get a refund, you know,
Hmm.
and start making them pay their fair share of taxes, because taxes, to me, taxes are kind of like the veins in the circulatory system. You know, you've got the arteries going, you know, distributing the money out, but in the taxes bring it back, you know. And so
Okay.
like these multi-billionaires, companies and people are like a blood clot in the system, you know, and they're not allowing for the proper circulation of currency and money flow, you know. So we got to rein them in. We got to bust up these blood clots so that we can get our, you know, circulation better to where everything's getting blood that it needs to survive, you know.
You kind of just blew my mind. I'm trying to like wrap my mind around everything you just said. Um, I know it makes sense, but it's my brain is not working with that right now. But
Yeah, so federal funding is like the arteries, you
yeah.
know, the fresh blood goes out, you know, oxygenated blood into the body, and then the veins are like the taxes where it comes back in. You know, so
Okay.
when you have a blood clot though, it can't flow back properly through that vein, you know. And so
Got
that's
it.
why we're seeing this lopsidedness where we've got the income inequality is it's such a wide
Mhm.
gap, you know, like, oh, who cares that the stock market fell? I don't care. I don't own any stock. 80
Mhm.
something percent of all stock is owned by the top percentage of wealthy individuals.
Right.
So like stuff like that doesn't matter to me. Stuff that matters to me is, you know, can I pay my mortgage, or, you know,
Hmm.
can I keep my electricity on? Can I feed my kids? You know, those are the things that really matter. I don't really care if, you know, the stock market took a little tumble when it's already at its like world record high, you know, and back
Yeah.
in the recession it was down, you know, way below 10,000. Now it's like in the
Mhm.
20s. So who cares
Right.
if it drops 1,000 points? It means nothing to me. It's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
And and most of us, you know,
It's
most of
still
us don't.
irrelevant.
I've never had a job where I got like a 401k, or, you know,
Mhm.
I've never been able to afford, you know, like a mutual fund or anything like that, you know. So
Right.
I don't have like a retirement savings or a nest egg.
Right.
Being from the Detroit area, right when I became an adult is when Bill Clinton took office, and you know, he signed NAFTA into law, and that really, really gave Detroit. I'm from Metro Detroit. It really gave us a hard hit, you know, that and his CIA bringing drugs, the crack, into the cities. You know, so we got the crack and we got NAFTA. It really hurt us, you
Right.
know. And so my whole adult life has basically been a struggle, you know, to keep food on the table and, you know, roof over my head. You know, so we got to get back to fair trade deals, you
Right.
know, bilateral trade agreements, you know, not stuff like the TPP that would give away our sovereignty to corporations.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but I think we should do like a percentage based tariff based on the percentage of American made products and assembly. So if you've got something just in order to say made in the USA, they've got, you know, ways around that where they basically make it in Mexico and then they ship it to America slap a, put one thing on it, and then boom, it's made in the USA. So I think we should do like percentage of made in the USA. Like if it's 100% made in the USA, where all the materials to produce an item and the assembly of that item is all USA, then obviously you wouldn't pay a tariff because it never crossed the border. But if we've got stuff crossing our border and it's completely imported and assembled overseas, I believe those companies should pay a tariff in order to, sell their products in their country, because otherwise we're undercutting our own workforce and our own labor. So if it's 100% made in America, then obviously it's tariff free. But the further down you go, I think we should put a tariff on those corporations, and it would encourage companies to come back to America that have left. Because then that's why everything's made in China these days. Their cost of living is super low there. They have a really, big population of people willing to work. But you suffer on the quality because they weren't part of the Industrial Revolution that we had in America 100 years ago. So like, I really feel like our workers were designed to build things and had experience building things and made good quality products. And then we shipped all those jobs overseas and gave them to inexperienced employees, and they can.
And then like the quality started to go down.
Regulations in China aren't the same as they are here, so we really got to get back to that too, and I'm not trying to knock other countries, everybody's trying to make it, but we should help impoverished countries, move to renewable energy, so we can end the war for oil and resources like that. We have the technology to be fossil fuel free. So I think we definitely need to pursue that so they can stop using.
Here, wait, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. My dog is crying at the door. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, like I'd rather help those countries become more self-sustaining. We could put solar rooftops on every single structure in the world, and that's a ton of jobs all over the world. Could be focused on water energy, water turbines or wind farms or whatever. There's multiple ways of using renewable energy, and we've only just begun to learn about things like 0 point energy and stuff like that, so we definitely need to put more money into that sector, which is renewable energy, and in a way that promotes small businesses. So like the less number of employees that you have, and I would include independent contractors as employees too, because that's a way around it. I got an independent contractor, so that they're not really an employee. No, well, yeah, I would include independent contract work too.
Right.
The employees you have would be like the incentives that you get, so that way we could be decentralized as far as our monopolies go, where if you're a small company with less than 50 employees, then you get the biggest tax breaks. But if you're a gigantic company that's all across the country or the world, then you get the biggest taxes, and I just think that's only fair, because companies and banks and politicians that are too big to fail and too big to jail, and that's just not right. That's not what our ancestors wanted. We had antitrust laws, and and it's just we've gotten away from that because of the money in politics, like you were saying. We got to stop voting for those candidates with $4 million war chests for their campaign, and start voting for the candidate with the least amount of donations instead of the most.
I mean, no Joe Kennedys, no Joe Bidens, no Joes. Well, not necessarily. There could be a nice Joe. I'm not quite sure that I am aware of. Oh, wait, no Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
We got that one. But yeah, no, we need, at the very least, we need candidates like you who are not taking corporate money, because we know that they'll listen to their constituents.
Right.
And I feel like I'm like getting emotional. I'm like so passionate about that issue, and like it like really I really commend you for like running and like doing everything you can because it's hard right now on some level because Trump is so goddamn awful. Everything he's doing, I mean, it's has a really scary precedent to like on some level Hitler.
Well, what I tell people about Trump is, and especially Trump supporters and Trump voters, is that I agree with him on a lot of what our problems are.
Right.
Like elections and our fake news, but I
Mm-hmm.
use different verbiage. I call them fraudulent elections and
Mm-hmm.
corporate media. I think that goes a long way if you want to use the right words.
Mm-hmm.
But where he and I differ is on the solutions. You
Right.
know, like I would have never wanted Jeff Sessions to be our attorney general
Yeah.
after, the marijuana users or cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just crazy. And he always wants to talk about the fake news. But have you ever seen him support independent media? No. He just
No.
wants to watch Fox
Well,
News.
not right now.
Fox News is just as big of a warmongering network as the rest of them. They all love war, because they all get money from those companies. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Maddow making $25 million a year or whatever she makes,
Right.
I get it. I get that they're not truthful, but don't act like Fox is like awesome or that much. We got to support our independent media. We got to,
Yeah.
repeal and replace the Telecommunications Act of 1996.
Totally.
We got to support net neutrality. We got to move to making the internet like a publicly like single payer internet.
Yeah, exactly.
We all pay it. Everyone should have access to it. It's an information superhighway. Even everybody should have free, publicly funded internet instead of companies that just raise your rates after 12 months because they feel like it, even though nothing happened other than 12 months passed,
Right.
So yeah, I agree with him on a lot of the problems, like illegal immigration, for example, is
Right.
another where like I don't want to build a wall. I want to end the war on drugs and the war for oil. Like that would go a
Right.
long way. We're the ones that created the refugee crisis, and we're the ones that created the drug cartels. So
Right.
that's the best way I know of to take away that whole situation. Like it would be drastically reduced, if we started taking care of people. Don't want to leave their home country and go to a place where they don't speak the language and don't know anybody, they do it
Right.
as like a last resort. So why don't we focus instead on rebuilding and helping people, versus arming terrorists and bringing crack into the major cities. It's like they're playing both sides, they really are. And I've had it. I've had enough. And for anybody that's watching, if you're considering running for office, but you're scared too because maybe you have a record or a bit of a past, I would say, just look at our current politicians,
Yeah.
basically like angels compared to them.
Mhm.
And we have the largest prison population in the world, like I said, so most of us have a record,
Mhm.
and that's by design. And you can run with a record. It's fine as long as you own it and you admit it. Like, hey, when
Yeah.
I was young and dumb and or whatever,
Right.
people understand because a lot of us do have records, especially for something stupid like a little bit of cannabis when you got pulled over. You know,
Right.
doesn't that make you a bad person and doesn't make you unworthy of representing the people around you? So I'm hoping that whoever watches this video, if that's why you're on the fence and you're thinking about it, just go for it. Just
Right.
go or become independent media. And
Mhm.
help the other candidates that are willing to put their neck on the line and put their name out there. And I had a fake last name when I on Facebook, but that was one of the first things I did was switch to my real last name. So like I'm putting me out there. This is me. This is
Right.
who I am. And bring on the arrows. Sling them my way. I'm a tough woman. I'm 43 years old. I ain't no kid. I have kids. My oldest daughter's 16 already, and I've been to hell and back a few times. So
yeah,
I know that life is a roller coaster, and sometimes things are bad, and sometimes things are good, and we just have to keep plugging along and hope for the best and plan for the future. But doing what we're doing, voting for these same incumbents time and time again, is
it's
not
not doing anything.
no.
It's just a cyclical business cycle that's funding the mass awards and not helping the people, in my opinion.
Right.
But what do I know? I'm just, a 27-year-old millennial living in her basement at her parents' house. So I don't know anything. I'm just like, I don't know, whatever fucking Hillary Clinton would tell me I am, or Kamala Harris, or any of these people. But I don't know shit, apparently. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we should talk about.
Well, if you guys are interested in following my campaign,
Yes.
you can go to Facebook. I'm the Marcia Squier for U.S. Senate on Facebook, or my personal profile, which is Marcia Squier. I'm also on YouTube as Marcia Squier for U.S. Senate. I collect video interviews that I've done, like this one. I have a couple of playlists over there. One from my 2016 campaign and one from this campaign, and then like another playlist of some commercials that some volunteers made for me. So you can go to YouTube and watch videos that have been done. You can even Google my name and look me up, but don't go to VoteSmart. I just found this thing called VoteSmart, supposedly nonpartisan, but it's founded by a Democrat. They're trying to claim that I've refused to answer their questions and repeated attempts and all this other stuff, trying to find out my stances on issues, but like literally they've never reached out to me once. So I just called them the other day when I found them online. I was like, excuse me, here's my phone number, here's my email. Feel free to ask me any questions you want. I haven't refused anything, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I'm also on Twitter at, my handle is at @triple_Marcia, like Marcia. And, but mostly I spend a lot of time on Facebook. It's where I've got my most friends and followers. I'm almost up to 5,000 friends now. I try to keep it right around 49, 50-ish. So that way when people do come, they're not like, oh, she already has 5,000 friends, I'm not going to friend request her.
Right.
But at least if you friend request me, you can follow me and you can comment on my posts. I got everything set to public, and I do a lot of questions. I'll ask questions. I'll do polls type questions where I ask people, how do you feel about a certain subject? And then people weigh in, or and make statements, or I do videos whenever I go to an event or whatever. I'll live stream. So you can also go to like Facebook, search Marcia Squier, and then click on videos, and you'll see all the Facebook videos I've done as well. My website is marciasquier.com. And you can donate at crowdpack.com. I'm the independent candidate for U.S. Senate in Michigan. Currently, right now, I'm still under $2,000 in donations, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
The less I raise, the better, in my opinion. I mostly just want to raise like the bare minimum to be able to like purchase the petitions I need and, business cards, stuff like that, So I don't have T-shirts or bumper stickers or yard signs yet, but it's all by design because I'm trying to purposely running underfunded campaign, so I rely heavily online because stuff like this is free, like you interviewing me right now because time is money, we can all dedicate a little bit of time to the cause, and so definitely check that out. And so crowdpack.com is the donation site. And I am currently trying to collect signatures right now. I recently found out that I should not be using photocopies of petitions. They could get thrown out if somebody contests the validity of the petitions, not just the signatures. So I found a company that does it in Michigan, and they were like, oh, you have to go to the website. So I went to the website, and they're like, oh, you have to create an account. So I made an account, and then they're like, oh, we have to send you an email. And I get the email, oh, we have to contact you by phone. So then they didn't even contact me for like a week. So I finally called them back. I'm like, okay, I went through all these hoops. I'm trying to order petitions. What can, what's going on? So they finally approved my account, and I've got more petitions coming in the mail. But I need between 30 and 60,000 signatures, as opposed to the 15 to 30,000 signatures that the duopoly needs.
Right.
But I get to go straight to the general election. I don't also have a primary in which I would need a couple 100,000 votes to move on to the general. All I need is 30,000 signatures, and I'm in the general. And that's where the action is. And I don't feel like I'd be splitting the vote because,
right.
like I said earlier, I've got supporters on all sides.
Right.
You know? And so, and if, you know, it's funny because the Democrats will be like, oh, why don't you run as a Democrat? Why doesn't a Democrat run against her? I'm not a Democrat. Why do I got to do your job for you? You know, somebody could run against her. I'm not stopping them. They just great. You know, they're not paying attention to what she's actually doing. You know, she does her photo ops and stuff, and that's good enough for them. They care about personality and identity politics. They don't care about, or maybe they don't realize what she's doing, you know, because they're watching mainstream media. You know, so I have nothing against the regular people that are maybe misled, you know, and misinformed intentionally by their media sources.
Right.
You know, so I'm just going for the general election because being without party affiliation, I don't have a primary. It's not top two nonpartisan here for U.S. Senate. Some of our races are, like for Detroit mayor and stuff like that. We had, you know, Democrat versus Democrat in the general, but U.S. Senate is different in Michigan. We have 7 recognized parties here.
Oh, wow.
And independents. So there could conceivably be 8 people on the ballot for U.S. Senate in the general election. I believe her last one in 2012, there was 6. But we have not had an independent candidate for U.S. Senate in 30 years. We haven't had one since 1988, which was before the internet was invented and before the Bernie and Trump campaigns came along. And, you know, this is just a different political climate than it was back in the late 80s. You know, so I really feel like, you know, independent's the way to go. And, you know, I get for every 1 vote blue, no matter who, I get 90 supporters, you know, because independents outnumber the Democrats.
Exactly.
Independents outnumber the Republicans. And so many people are so grateful that I've chosen to not have any letter next to my name other than I. You know, and we actually do have 2 independent senators in D.C. right now, Bernie being one and Angus King is the other. It can be done, and it has been done.
Right.
You know, so I'm really hoping that, you know, even if I don't win, I'll be filing for recounts in any and all suspicious precincts. And I'm going to be reaching out to my fellow nominees, the eventual nominees. There's, you know, there's several running right now, so there isn't really clear line of candidates yet. The primary isn't until August. So I'll be reaching out to those other nominees because the Jill Stein campaign here did a recount in 2016 and it was stopped, and it was determined that only the second place candidate can file for a recount. And then we had all these unrecountable precincts, which were in districts where Hillary got 95% of the vote. You know, that's a Democrat. So my eyes are open to this, you know, the chicanery and the shenanigans that they pull. And I'll be focusing on those districts and those precincts. We also, in 2017, had the Detroit City Clerk race. This was the same clerk that got in a bunch of hot water for all these unrecountable precincts, right? Janice Winfrey. She won re-election by like 1,000 votes.
Okay.
And so her competitor actually filed for a recount. His name's Garland Gilchrist II. He filed for a recount because he was like, you know, this is weird because he was in the lead all day. When they were counting, he was in the lead. Then all of a sudden at the end, she won. So they did the recount, and and then basically the same exact thing happened as in 2016. Oh, there's all these unrecountable precincts. Okay, then why did Michigan purchase all these brand new voting machines based on the 2016 recount? That's the Help America Vote Act that forces us to use those machine tabulators. And it didn't fix the problem. We still have the exact same problem of, you know, the poll workers either not doing their jobs, either intentionally or unintentionally. But I'm definitely an advocate for hand-counted paper ballots with citizen oversight. I would rather give that money to regular everyday people than the manufacturers of those machines. That could have really helped us a lot. We could have employed a lot of people, even if on a temporary basis. And it would, and I'm not saying that it would stop all election fraud, but it would definitely be a step in the right direction, especially even Hillary supporters that think that Trump stole the campaign, and all these elected officials that are talking about how the Russians hacked our databases and blah, blah, blah. But do you hear them advocating for paper ballots? No. And yeah, we have paper ballots here, but I want hand-counted paper ballots.
Exactly.
Oversight. I don't want the Department of Homeland Security taking over our election infrastructure. We don't need government oversight. We need citizen oversight. It's very important that people know that one person equals one vote. We need to get rid of super delegates, which I can't do because I'm not a Democrat.
Right.
Delegate votes count for 10,000 votes apiece. This is the party that talks about voter suppression. That's the epitome of voter suppression, in my opinion.
It really is, yeah.
And so, I've made it my personal mission to run against Michigan superdelegates. I ran in 2016 against one. I'm running again because that is just horrible. And I would never join a party that uses superdelegates and then talks about voter suppression, And then we've got also like people that don't even vote because of the lack of good candidates, So I do have supporters now. That one of my friends, one of my new friends, he went and registered to vote a couple of weeks ago so that he can vote for me. And he didn't vote in 2016. He was old enough, but he didn't. And then also one of my younger friends that just turned 18 also did not vote in 2016. But he ended up voting for me too. So I'm hoping that more and more people will find out about my campaign and realize that there actually is somebody worth voting for this time around. That isn't a third party, but actually like a no party affiliation, because I got your back, and I'm hoping that they have mine too, But either way, there's nobody decent running against Debbie Stabenow that I could even vote for with good conscience, So that's why I feel like I have to run. I feel like it's my duty to my country, and my state, and my hometown, because I can't stomach her anymore. I can't believe what she's doing with the dark ass warmongering and just everything else. It just breaks my heart. So, until somebody else comes along, I'm still running, because nobody else does. And it's in this race, I got like I said, a lot of candidate friends running all over the place. And, so the more people we have, the better.
Well, I hope they clap your back.
Yeah.
Because your boss in short terms. But it's really been awesome talking to you because I feel like you've told me some things that I didn't really know that are great. And I don't really have much else to say except if you can provide me all of those links you mentioned and all of those things, I can put them in the description. Sure. And just spread it like an open source. Just spread it everywhere so people can know and learn and donate to your campaign, frankly.
Right. But no more than $100. I don't want any big donors.
Yeah, no big donors, guys.
No big donors allowed, guys. The lots
no
of
big donor. Yes, smaller than $2, $1.50, maybe 1 cent, maybe half a cent if you have it.
People donate $100. Yeah, I probably had about 50 donors so far. So
yeah,
for the most part, 27 is the most popular donation, but I have had some $3 and $10 donations as well. Because 27 is like the unwritten code. And I think that Bernie came up with it because it's 1% of the max, which is 2,700, I want to say. So I think that's how he came up with it originally instead of 25 or whatever. But I and because I was inspired by Bernie to run in the first place, that's my favorite donation because whether or not you agree with his platform is irrelevant. It's not about him. It's about us.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, that's pretty much all. I think we could talk to death, I think. Oh, yeah. But
I could talk for hours about politics. It's I
I
gotta
know,
get over
right?
to YouTube and check out the latest videos, check on my notifications, you know.
Yeah, right?
Love
Oh
it.
my God.
So fascinated by it, and I love all the people like me that are tuning in. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You guys are like family to me. You know, you really are.
that's basically how I feel on some
Yeah.
level because I feel like my family isn't entirely my family. But
My entire family voted for Trump, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
It's
didn't.
the
I
same.
didn't vote for the guy. I did not. But
Yeah,
I understand why people did, and
exactly. And
he
that
talked about.
alone is like if you market that to Trump supporters, that's why you'll win. Like that's why you'll win.
My parents are not scary people. They're some of the most generous, kind-hearted people you'll ever meet. And just because they're Republican doesn't mean they're evil.
No,
Just because they
exactly.
vote Republican, they're not politicians. So I wouldn't call them like Republicans, but they vote Republican. You
Yeah.
know, it's their choice. And I love my parents. They're awesome. They still help me out to this day. And they're like 70 years old. So yeah, I would
Mhm.
never ever kick them to the curb. And all this crying wolf, it's like we're under apocalyptic exhaustion right now, like every day, like the world's
Every goddamn day.
like,
And
okay,
everyone's like so reactionary, including myself, to just like everything.
yeah, yeah, we just gotta, that's all distractions. We gotta put the blinders on, like we're horses,
Yeah,
and just focus
exactly.
focus on the end, focus on the line there. We're like the
Yeah,
tortoise and the hare too. We're like they're like the hare, but we're the tortoise, and the
yeah,
tortoise wins at the end of that story. So as
exactly.
long as we just keep plugging along and let the hare do its thing and run around and act all crazy, it ends up losing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so we have to stay focused and try not to freak out over every little thing and just
Mm-hmm.
focus on spreading the word about candidates or
Yeah,
independent media or
yeah.
that you use when if you go to a protest or you go to a rally, make sure you live stream it or
Mm-hmm.
post about it or whatever you got to do, because the mainstream media is not going to do it for us, and neither are our current incumbents.
No, they're not. Not at all. Not at all. All right. Well, thank you for joining the so-called Inform Forum, which is on YouTube and Twitter. Doesn't have a Facebook page yet. Maybe I'll create one. I'm not even sure how to go about creating a Facebook page, but
Pretty easy. Pretty
it's
easy.
pretty easy. I'll try to figure it out later.
I didn't
Maybe.
know either. I only had Facebook before as like a Rolodex for like people I went to high school with type of thing, or
Yeah.
former coworkers. I think
Right.
making groups and making pages is pretty user friendly. There's different kinds of groups. You
Right.
can make a secret group or a closed group or an open group or same
Right.
thing with page. You can just make a page and then share your page into groups and let people know about it, or you can pay to sponsor posts. My campaign page has 0 sponsored posts so far, but I do get quite a bit of traffic there because people will click like see first, so
Right.
following it, even if it's because I don't want to sponsor posts. I'm trying to
Right.
find supporters, not detractors. And I found that like with sponsored posts, like all the crazies come out when you just start putting your stuff out there for whoever, whatever. So I try to do more
Right.
different stuff than the sponsored posts. But yeah, you should check it out. It only takes about 5 minutes to make a page.
So I've made like a group that I run because I was mad at Indivisible. I still kind of am.
I
Um,
actually went to an Indivisible forum in November here.
he just
They were decent to me here. They're local chapters and stuff. So I did hear about your problems with Indivisible. I haven't
mm,
necessarily found that here. There was actually a women candidate forum on February 1st that
mm,
included the Green Party candidate. So
right.
I think it all just depends on the local Indivisible group that you're working with.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so go ahead, yeah, check it out, make a page, share it to your page, share it to my page, anybody that's watching, share it to your own page or in your groups or whatever. Just don't share too quickly too much because Facebook will put you in Facebook jail.
That is true. We don't want to be in Facebook jail, you guys.
No, I've never been in Facebook jail and I don't plan on going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it respectful, don't post porn, and try not to use profanity and stuff
Yes.
like that, and people won't report you, and don't share
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my advice for new Facebook users.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, this will be uploaded. Thank you guys for watching this. If you are, obviously it's not live, so to speak. I'm recording it, but I couldn't figure out that capability quite yet with YouTube. I know it's simple. I figured it out once, just playing around. Hopefully, I'll get better at this as I go on and get more interviews with you
Sure.
guys.
Thank you, Carly, for
All
having
right.
me on. I love you.
Oh, you too. Even though we're like, well, no, Michigan, we're not that far. Michigan's like up here. PA's like here, kind
Oh
of.
yeah, it's totally drivable. Totally, just a few hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, more like, I don't know.
Like 6, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Something like that. All right. Well, have a good night.
You too.
And we'll be on the interwebs. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you.
you.